take some real confidence to randomly start up a crazy business and then have it flop. Or maybe it just takes millions of dollars. I'm your host Michaela, and today I'm going to talk about the top 10 failed celebrity businesses that cost them millions. And make sure to subscribe and hit that bell to stay updated on all our videos. Starting off this countdown at number 10, Curt Schilling. Few business flameouts have been as bad as the one involving baseball pitching great Curt Schilling and his video game startup company 38 Studios. Based in Rhode Island, the company produced exactly one video game, Kingdoms of Amalur. In 2012, Schilling laid off all 379 staffers at 38 Studios, then filed bankruptcy. But the problem extended just beyond his personal and business loans. Schilling and his partners had taken $75 million in loans from the state of Rhode Island. State officials had floated bonds to back the loans, luring Schilling's company away from Massachusetts, to which they could not repay. Everyone then very quickly lured up. The state sued, claiming 38 Studios used false financial statements to secure the public loans. In September 2016, Schilling and former 38 Studios executives agreed to pay just $2.5 million back to the state, leaving taxpayers on the hook for millions. The bankruptcy filing shows the company had $150 million in debt versus just $22 million in assets. Schilling says he spent $50 million of his own personal money on the business as well. Number 9, Britney Spears. Named after Spears' two favorite places, New York and Louisiana, the business Nyla opened in June 2002 in Manhattan's Dillon Hotel. The restaurant originally featured dishes with a Cajun and Southern flair, with dishes such as Southern sushi and fried okra, with prices ranging from $16 to $26 a dish. According to People.com, however, the restaurant received terrible reviews, was cited for several health code violations, and eventually began to suffer from financial problems. In an attempt to save the business, People reported Nyla underwent a menu overhaul in which the Southern cuisine was dumped in favor of Italian dishes, but this was not enough to keep the restaurant afloat. Less than 6 months after it opened, Spears severed all ties with the business, the magazine said. Number 8, Steven Spielberg. The brainchild of director Steven Spielberg and DreamWorks CEO Jeffrey Katzenberg. Dive was a submarine-themed restaurant in the shape of a neon yellow submersible. The restaurant's visitors were surrounded by metal catwalks, pressure gauges, and torpedo-shaped seats. Every half hour, the restaurant would simulate a dive, and red lights would flash all around the room. Dive opened in 1994 in Los Angeles, and in 1995, a second restaurant opened in Las Vegas. The menu focused on submarine sandwiches and contained puns such as substantial salads and sublime desserts. The restaurant also generated additional income by selling souvenirs. Despite its early success, the restaurant found difficulty in attracting locals as repeat customers. Sales fell short of projections, and the sale of the merchandise became very slow. The Los Angeles Dive closed its doors in 1999, and the Las Vegas restaurant followed soon after. Number 7, Nicolas Cage. In the early 2000s, Nicolas Cage made as much as $40 million a year, but by 2009, he had filed for bankruptcy. Well, it was at least partially because of bad real estate investments and property management. For example, in 2006, he purchased Schloss Niedstein Castle in Germany for $2.3 million. The agent who sold him the property, Sabine Gamel, said the on-site inspection didn't take long. According to Gamel, when he arrived to tour the castle, Cage walked through the gate and almost immediately said, "I think this is for me." Except it really wasn't. In addition to the $2.3 million he paid for the 11th century castle, he reportedly spent double that on mostly just exterior renovations, but never got beyond that. He ended up settling it 3 years later, the year of his bankruptcy. His heart was not in it, the local mayor said. Unfortunately, that can't be said for his millions of dollars. Number 6, Nikki Hilton. As an heir to the Hilton family, Nikki Hilton should have the hotel business running through her veins, but as a disastrous attempt at starting up her own hotel chain proved otherwise. Hilton's first venture was planned as a 94-room luxury hotel on Miami's Ocean Drive, with a second location planned for Chicago. An Italian fashion designer was brought in to design the hotel suites. The hotel was scheduled to open in time for the 2007 Super Bowl in Miami and reportedly advertised a $1,000 per night at Super Bowl package. Unfortunately, plagued by delays, the hotel never actually opened its doors. The project filed for bankruptcy protection in 2007, and Hilton was later sued by the condo hotel developer, who claimed she didn't keep up her end of their business agreement. The developer said Hilton had promised to promote the project, and that she misrepresented her associates. The property eventually was put up for auction, and the Chicago project was abandoned. Halfway, number 5, Debbie Reynolds. In 1992, legendary film and music star Debbie Reynolds paid $2.2 million for the old Paddle Wheel Casino and Hotel, off but still near the Strip. She sunk $2 million of her own money into renovations, and then, when the Debbie Reynolds Casino and Hotel went public, raised enough cash to put another $7 million into the hotel. The Casino Hotel opened in 1993 and had an old Hollywood classic Las Vegas decor. It also featured a 500-seat auditorium where Reynolds performed. However, Reynolds did not have any part of the casino, which was operated by a separate company that kept all the revenue. Not a super great deal for Reynolds. From the start, not enough cash flow came in to service the debt. Even after management sold timeshares at the hotel, the monthly negative cash flow reached about $450,000 a month. At that point, Renslow's people tried to pursue a gaming license to move the casino into the end of the business, but without cash flow from a hotel, they couldn't secure financing. And without financing, they couldn't get a gaming license. So it was pretty much game over. The hotel and Reynolds then personally declared bankruptcy in 1997. Number 4, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was looking for a business opportunity, and unfortunately he settled on Pastamania, a fast food restaurant in the Mall of America. Customers were given the opportunity to feast on a variety of pasta-based items, including Hulk U's and Hulkaroos. The restaurant was even promoted through World Championship Wrestling, but no amount of marketing could keep the business from closing its doors less than a year after opening. Hogan, however, hasn't fully given up on being an entrepreneur. Since then, he has launched his own energy drink, Hogan Energy, and has also attached his name to a line of microwavable hamburgers and chicken sandwiches called Hulkster Burgers, although who knows how long that's gonna last. Number 3, Mark Twain. Mark Twain, real name Samuel Clemens, as everyone who stayed awake in English class knows, is one of the most beloved American authors and also one of the country's first celebrities. He also had a bit of money, including some from his wife's inheritance. So he had a little bit of cash in his pocket in 1880, which is when he met James Page, an investor who was working on an automatic typesetting machine. The machine, Page claimed, would do better than human typesetters, and better than the linotype machines of the day. As Twain was very impressed, he gave him $5,000. 7 years later, he'd put $50,000 and an additional $3,000 per month as the project's main backer. He eventually bought the rights to the machine in 1889. As history tells us, linotype cornered the market on typesetting and Twain ended up bankrupt, with the Page compositor the biggest of his poor investments. However, he came back from bankruptcy and even paid off all his creditors, even though he was not legally obligated to do so. Number 2, Kanye West. Kanye West, known for having an interest in fashion, had been talking about starting his own fashion line for years, and in 2009 he attempted it with Pastel, but West's clothing business never had a fighting chance. 2 days after photos of his fashion lines were posted on the internet, the business folded. Shortly before, West's reputation took a hit after he interrupted Taylor Swift's acceptance speech at the MTV Video Music Awards, declaring that another artist should have won. Many people speculate that this stunt contributed to the fashion line's demise. Now coming in at number 1, Jennifer Lopez. In an effort to celebrate her Puerto Rican heritage, Jennifer Lopez opened Mondres in 2002 in Pasadena, California, of course. The menu focused on Latin food that Lopez had enjoyed growing up: ceviche, ropa vieja, and a version of rice, with dishes priced between $30 and $50. Despite a star-studded opening, the restaurant received lackluster reviews, and 6 years later the sign was placed at the front door that said Mondres will be closed until further notice. In addition to Mondres, Lopez has also experienced failures in the fashion industry. Before it became common for celebrities to have fashion lines, Lopez found success in her clothing line J.Lo in 2003. Afterwards, she launched 2 additional lines, Just Sweet in 2003 and Sweet Face in 2005. With the recession, her initial clothing line J.Lo was unable to remain profitable and was closed in the United States in 2007. Traditional lines, however, also didn't find success. Lopez may find success aiming at an older audience. However, the singer had announced in 2011 that a new line would come out that fall at the store Kohl's, and it was doing well until 2020 when the store announced they would be cutting all ties with J.Lo's business. Kohl's, however, said that they cut ties with other companies as well because of the pandemic. Some celebrities have lots of money, or maybe I should say had. I'm your host, Michaela, and today we are talking about the top 10 richest celebrities who are now broke. And make sure to subscribe if you enjoy our content because it really helps us out. Starting off this countdown at number 10, Michael Jackson. When pop superstar Michael Jackson's troubled life ended in 2009, it wasn't obvious he was in financial distress. With hindsight, it should have been clear that tens of millions of records sold and countless sold-out shows weren't enough to support a lavish life poked by legal troubles and questionable investments. Jackson's mental health struggles prevented him from touring during the last decade of his life, hampering his earning potential. Though he never declared bankruptcy, he likely would have no choice had he lived that much longer. Number 9, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp has been acting since the 1980s. He's earned as much as $20 million per film and shared in the profits of some of the biggest hits, including the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Yet as his star faded and outrageous spending habits began to bite, Johnny Depp nearly lost everything. He's back in the upswing today, however, financially at least, but never officially declared bankruptcy. Depp's financial troubles became more than a mere rumor in 2017, when he sued his longtime business managers Joel and Robert Mandel for fraud, among other things. In 2016, the Mandels hit him with an ultimatum. His cash was nearly gone, so he'd have to sell his beloved French estate and other valuable possessions or face financial ruin. To say that Depp was hands-off with his own finances was an understatement, but even he was shocked that he'd managed to burn through $650 million since 2000. Depp's lawsuit accused that they'd mismanaged his fortune and taken way too much for themselves. They fired back in a countersuit accusing him of refusing to curtail his selfish, reckless, and irresponsible lifestyle. Johnny Depp managed to avoid declaring bankruptcy thanks to large part to the long-running success of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, from which he earned more than $300 million in combined salary and profit sharing. But then there was was a legal battle between Depp and fellow actor and ex-wife Amber Heard. Financially speaking, Depp came out ahead, with the jury ordering Heard to pay Depp $10 million and Depp to pay her $2 million, though it remains to be seen whether the affair will damage his reputation and dent his earning power. Number 8. 50 Cent. Curtis James Jackson III, better known for his stage name 50 Cent, was an instant sensation when he burst onto the hip-hop scene in the early 2000s. Over his career, 50 Cent sold more than 30 million albums and earned dozens of music awards, including a Grammy and 13 Billboard awards. At one point, he was the second wealthiest hip-hop artist in America behind Jay-Z. 50 Cent's music sales steadily declined after peaking in the mid-2000s, along with his income. Despite scattered business successes, the rapper spent heavily on a lavish lifestyle featuring Rolls-Royce automobiles and the same Connecticut mansion Mike Tyson lost a few years earlier. He publicly shared a tape featuring a rival rapper's ex-girlfriend, triggering a lawsuit that cost him $5 million. He also lost more than $2 million on Sleek by 50, a headphone venture, and was then hit with a judgment totaling more than $18 million for allegedly stealing the design for that product. In 2015, he declared bankruptcy to restructure and slim down these obligations, losing much of his fortune in the process. Number 7. Donald Trump. Former President Donald Trump came to fame as a bash New York real estate developer with an outrageous hairstyle, high-profile romantic exploits, and a gift for self-promotion. Trump inherited the family business from his father Fred Trump, a successful New York City builder and landlord. 6 Trump-owned businesses filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the 1990s and 2000s. 5 were gaming enterprises, including the famed Trump Taj Mahal and its parent company, Trump Hotels and Casino Resorts. Most occurred during or following the major real estate downturns of the early 1990s and middle to late 2000s. The first bankruptcy filed in 1991 was arguably the most devastating for Trump's lifestyle. Trump funded the $1 billion Trump Taj Mahal with loads of high-interest debt. Within a year of opening, the property was more than $3 billion in the hole, and Trump was personally on the hook for $900 million. Trump Hotels and Casino Resorts is more than $1.8 billion in debt when it first filed for Chapter 11 in 2004. So overall, to summarize, he's broke and a really stupid person. Number 6. Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather earned more than $1 billion over the course of his fighting career. Yet by 2020, Mayweather had persistent rumors that he'd blown his entire fortune. His bizarre decision to charge over $1,000 for a private video call, a trivial sum for a multimillionaire, only heightened speculation that he was drowning in debt. So did a 2022 bout with YouTuber Logan Paul that was widely criticized as a cynical publicity stunt. Halfway. Number 5. Mike Tyson. Widely regarded as one of the greatest boxers of the modern era, Tyson exploded onto the screen as a junior boxer in the early 1980s. He earned the WBC heavyweight champion title just 4 months after his 20th birthday, becoming the youngest boxer ever to reach that mark. According to a 2003 report by the New York Times, Tyson earned approximately $400 million during the first 18 years of his boxing career, but all the money in the world couldn't help Tyson. Out of the ring, he had multiple run-ins with the law, including an assault conviction that landed him in prison for 3 years. Tyson finally declared personal bankruptcy in 2003. He's devoted his time since to rehabilitating his reputation. Tyson ranked in $30 million per fight at the peak of his career, but bled money as readily as he earned it. In 2003, the New York Times detailed his lavish spending on everything from jewelry, mansions, and vehicles to Siberian tigers. In December 2002, he bought a $173,000 gold chain on credit, adding to the $27 million in debts listed in his 2003 bankruptcy filing. Tyson's largest debts included a $17.4 million in tax liabilities to the US and British authorities, a $9 million divorce settlement with former wife Monica Turner, several million in obligations to a gaggle of lawyers and producers, and more than $300,000 to a limousine company. His largest assets including a Connecticut mansion he sold to fund the divorce settlement and 2 extravagant Las Vegas properties. At the time of his bankruptcy filing, Tyson was pursuing a $100 million lawsuit against boxing promoter Don King, who Tyson claimed robbed him out of millions of dollars in revenue. In 2004, he settled with King for $14 million. Tyson was then bankrupt after losing most of his physical assets and setting aside a substantial share of his future earnings to pay his creditors. Number 4. Wesley Snipes. For a minute in the 1990s, you couldn't walk past a movie theater without seeing Wesley Snipes' name, but the action star's one-liners couldn't hide an accumulation of poor financial decision-making forever. Between 2001 and 2006, Snipes just didn't pay federal income taxes, at least not anywhere near what he owed to the IRS, despite earning millions every year. A 3-year prison sentence and nearly $10 million in penalties was a result. But I mean, maybe follow the law and you won't have that issue. Number 3. Curt Schilling. Veteran Boston Red Sox pitcher Curt played through a nasty ankle injury in 2004 World Series, helping his team win the championship and erase an 86-year curse in the process. He had then founded a small game development company in 2006 and appended his involvement after retiring in 2009. A slimmed-down version of the game titled Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning debuted at Comic-Con 2010. The fact that 38 Studios was run by a well-regarded New England sports icon made the company's ambitious plans easier to swallow. In 2010, Rhode Island state government approved a $75 million economic development loan to 38 Studios. The loan rode to the company's promise to complete its planned games and create 450 jobs in the small state within 2 years. Within a a year, it had become obvious that 38 Studios would not meet its timetable. The company then failed to make $1.1 million loan payment to Rhode Island, stopped making payroll, laid off its entire staff by email, and went bankrupt. Though Kerr avoided criminal penalties and personal bankruptcy, his reputation as a businessman was ruined and his personal finances suffered greatly. According to the Toronto Star, his $50 million net worth at retirement shrank to just $1 million in 4 years, forcing him to sell off prized personal possessions. That included a bloody sock from the 2004 championship run. Number 2, Michael Vick. Gifted NFL quarterback Michael Vick is best known for the infamous dogfighting scandal that brought his career to a temporary halt and forever tainted his legacy. Vick's 2007 dogfighting conviction resulted in a 21-month prison term and forced him to declare bankruptcy the following year. Previously, Vick ranked up some major achievements. In 2001, he was selected first in the NFL draft, becoming the first black quarterback to earn that honor. He reached the playoffs twice with the Atlanta Falcons and made 3 Pro Bowl rosters. And then it all fell apart. First, he spent money freely during his early career and managed his wealth poorly. Apparently, he earned nearly $40 million per year at his peak, an outrageous rate at the time even for a top-tier NFL quarterback. Vick made some poor investing decisions too, including a $1.6 million bet with a business partner who used his money to buy cars and inflate his own salary. Vick then filed for bankruptcy petition in 2008, listing assets of less than $50 million against debts of up to $50 million. Now coming in at number 1, Nicolas Cage. Many people don't realize Nicolas Cage is Hollywood royalty. Cage found success in a string of romantic comedies through the 1980s, then switched dramatic and action roles through the 1990s, earning his way into the Hollywood A-list. He pocketed an Academy Award for 1995's Leaving Las Vegas and was nominated for 2002's adaptation. According to Finance Buzz, he pocketed $150 million between 1996 and 2011. During that time, he earned $20 million apiece for blockbusters like Gone in 60 Seconds and National Treasure. However, by 2009, much of Cage's fortune had vanished in a hurricane of lavish spending, and the star faced legal troubles that further added to his financial debt. Starting in the 1990s, Cage embarked on a decade-long buying spree to rival Mike Tyson's. His rumored purchases extended from the normal to the bizarre, but all were expensive, including several supercars, rare jewelry, a shark, a crocodile, 2 king cobras, at least 1 dinosaur skull, a private jet, a pyramid tombstone in New Orleans cemetery, a 26-acre Rhode Island estate, a private island in the Bahamas, and so much more. Later, the mother of Cage's eldest son sued him for $13 million and ownership of her house, which was at the time in Cage's name. Ultimately, Cage lost his California home to foreclosure, though he had the last laugh when it failed to sell at auction, perhaps due to its questionable decor. He also lost a smaller Nevada property to foreclosure and offloaded many of his exotic personal possessions to pay off his debts. I've gotten into some disagreements with people before, but nothing so bad where there's been a lawsuit. I'm your host Michaela, and today we are talking about the top 10 most expensive celebrity lawsuits that almost ended their careers. And make sure to subscribe because it really helps us out. But that's enough, let's get started now. Starting off at number 10, Britney Spears versus Jamie Spears. The legal battles between pop icon Britney Spears and her father Jamie Spears have come more than a decade in the making. Jamie was the dominant member of the team, running his daughter's 13-year conservatorship, which finally ended in November 2021. Since reclaiming her freedom and autonomy, Britney has been keen to make these legal battles one step further. During her heartbreaking testimony amidst her conservatorship hearings, Britney alleged that her father mishandled her finances, profited off her work, and more. More recently, a former FBI agent concluded that Jamie Spears was spying on his daughter and surveillancing her bedroom, according to ET. Although this legal fight feels as though it's been a long time coming, we have a feeling it's just getting started. Number 9, Janice Dickinson versus Bill. In late November 2017, former supermodel Janice Dickinson was, according to The Hollywood Reporter, able to proceed with a renewed defamation case against former comedian Bill, with the majority of her older lawsuits still in use. A California Court of Appeals also ruled that she could pursue legal recourse against Bill's lawyer, Marty Singer, for defamation. The lawsuit stems from Dickinson coming forward in early 2017 with allegations that Bill used substances on her and intimately hurt her in the 1980s. So Singer, acting in the interest of Bill, said, quote, sent demand letters that asserted that Dickinson's story was fabricated and is an outrageous defamatory lie. Further, Singer threatened to sue Good Morning America if the ABC show proceeded with a planned segment with Dickinson. The following day, Singer issued a public statement again repeating that Dickinson's story of intimacy hurting was a lie and different from what she had written in her own autobiography, according to THR. THR further reported that Bill, quote, brought a motion of strike her complaint under California's anti-SLAPP statute, which provides early resource for individuals targeted for First Amendment activity. After Bill brought the motion and arguments were made, Dickinson attempted to amend her complaint to add Singer as a co-defendant. Quote, the trial judge wouldn't allow this, but the original ruling was slapped down by another judge, allowing Dickinson's case to proceed. Number 8, Nicki Minaj and Tracy Chapman. On January 7, 2021, the legal battle between Nicki Minaj and Tracy Chapman over the former's unauthorized sampling of Chapman's song, Baby Can I Hold You, interview finally came to an end. Back in 2018, Minaj publicly claimed she had, quote, no idea that her song sampled Chapman's and begged the singer to give her rights so she wouldn't have to delay her new album release, but Chapman repeatedly refused. And 2 years later, she accepted Minaj's offer of $450,000 to settle. I'm glad to have this matter resolved and grateful for this legal outcome, which affirms that artists' rights are protected by law and should be respected by other artists, Chapman told NBC News. I was asked in this situation numerous times for permission to use my song. In each instance, politely, in a timely manner, I unequivocally said no. Apparently, Miss Minaj chose not to hear and use my composition despite my clear and express intentions, she said. While Minaj ultimately cut the song from her album, it was leaked and made its way around the internet nonetheless. With this legal ruling, further circulation of the song was banned. Number 7. Taylor Swift versus David Mueller. Radio DJ David Mueller allegedly grabbed Taylor Swift at a fan meet and greet in 2013 and then tried to sue the superstar for cash when he lost his job over the intimate assault. He claimed the contact was accidental, but Swift testified saying, quote, it was a definite grab, a very long grab. She countersued him for a symbolic $1 because she wanted the trial to serve as a, quote, example to other women. In a championing moment during the trial, his lawyer asked Swift how she felt about him losing his job over the encounter, to which Swift responded, quote, I'm not going to allow you or your client to make me feel in any way that this is my fault. She added, here we are years later and I'm being blamed for the unfortunate events of his life that are the product of his decisions, not mine. Swift then won the suit in August 2017. Number 6. FKA Twigs versus Shia LaBeouf. In December 2020, the New York Times revealed musician FKA Twigs' lawsuit against actor ex-Shia LaBeouf alleging, quote, relentless abuse, including intimate battery, assault, and infliction of emotional distress. Her account to the Times alleges horrifying physical, psychological, and emotional abuse at the actor's hands. And another one of his exes, Carolyn Foe, came forward with similar stories as well. The lawsuit says that he kept a loaded firearm by the bed and that she was scared to use the bathroom at night lest he mistake her for an intruder and shoot her. The Times reported of Twigs' account. He didn't let her wear clothing to bed and would spin a trifling disagreement over an artist she liked and he didn't. For example, into an all-night fight, depriving her of sleep. In the lawsuit, Miss Barnett and Miss Foe said that Mr. LaBeouf did not like if they spoke or looked at male waiters. In an interview, Miss Barnett said she learned to keep her eyes down when men spoke to her. It continued. It may be surprising to you to learn that I was in an emotionally and physically abusive relationship, Twigs wrote on Twitter the day the Times published its story. It was hard for me to process too, during and after. I never thought something like this would happen to me. Number 5. Ed Sheeran versus Sammy Chokri. A lawsuit saw Ed Sheeran sued by musician Sammy Chokri for copyright infringement for his song Shape of You. Sammy claimed that Ed Sheeran had sampled his 2015 hit Oh My without any permission or credit for the tune. On the 6th of April 2022, Sheeran won the court case, with the judge ruling that he had not plagiarized the song. As Sammy would have to prove that Ed Sheeran had listened to the piece before releasing the hit Shape of You. Otherwise, it was merely just a coincidence, but it almost ended his career. Number 4. Kelly Clarkson versus Starstruck Management. In a lawsuit we definitely did not see coming, Kelly Clarkson was forced to file suit against her former management company, Star Trek Management Group, specifically agents Brandon Blackstock, her ex-husband, and Narvel Blackstock, his father. This came just 4 months after she first shocked everyone by filing for divorce after nearly 7 years of marriage. Though the legal action that's followed has certainly shed some light on why they broke up. Clarkson, however, wasn't the first to sue. That would be Starstruck, which claimed the singer owed them $1.4 million in unpaid management fees. Clarkson hit back by responding that they'd never had an official contract and that neither Narvel nor Brandon were licensed to operate as her manager, then going on to quietly file a lawsuit in return for having defrauded her out of millions in earnings, claiming Brandon had been charging her exorbitant fees for 13 years for his unlicensed management services. As all this is going down, they're still trying to figure out their custody arrangement and spousal support too, and Brandon's opening offer was $5 million a year from Clarkson. Number 3. Goop versus California. Gwyneth Paltrow's wellness company Goop was in some hot water back in 2018 when a group of officials from the California Food, Drug, and Medical Device Task Force filed a lawsuit against them for making unsubstantiated claims about the health benefits for some of their products. California prosecutors said that Goop's claims regarding the quote detox egg, like suggesting it could improve bladder control or prevent uterine prolapse, quote, were not supported by competent and reliable science. Ultimately, the judge agreed, stating, we will vigilantly protect consumers against companies that promise health benefits without the support of good science or any science. Goop settled the lawsuit with a payment of $145,000 and a promise to refund any consumers who purchased the egg between January 12, 2017 and August 31st, 2017. Number 2. Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. I know, we've heard all about it, but I feel like it deserves some spot on this list. Quite a few months ago, every top topic of conversation would include a mention of the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. Depp's ex-wife and fellow actor Amber Heard accused him of domestic abuse, which she detailed in a 2018 Washington Post essay. Depp denied all allegations and instead claimed that it was Heard who was violent towards him. As a result, he filed a suit against her for defamation, for which she filed a countersuit alleging the same. Clips of the trial went viral on social media, many of which mocked Heard's responses and that of her legal team. Heard was found liable in all 3 matters of defamation raised and was ordered to pay her ex-husband $10 million, while Depp was found liable on 1 charge of defamation in order to pay Heard $2 million. Number 1, Astroworld attendees and families versus Travis Scott. Following the Astroworld tragedy that claimed the lives of 10 attendees of the massive live performance event have livid serious lawsuits against Travis Scott, who was performing during the horrible mosh pit. The November 5th concert claimed the lives of 10 and left countless others injured. Scott produced and headlined the annual Houston concert per BuzzFeed News, and has since been dealt with over 200 lawsuits due to the tragedy. Per the outlet, a number of those who filed suits cited quote negligence and quote encouragement of violence. Sources close to Scott maintained that the rapper wasn't aware of the tragedy until hours after his performance. On December 6th, Scott requested via his legal team to be dismissed from at least 11 of the lawsuits filed against him, according to BuzzFeed News. But that is all. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time.